Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, let's discuss how to detect coronavirus using real-time PCR. In my previous video, I have discussed in detail about this real-time PCR method. I'll provide you iCard, please go through that video. Now let's see how the sample is collected and how it is processed to check whether the person is infected with COVID-19 or not. So here, the real-time PCR can also be called as qPCR. Q stands for quantitative PCR. So by using this method of PCR, we are going to quantify the amount of PCR product formed at the end of the cycle. And moreover, if you observe the report, generally we go with the different tests, like people go with the rapid antigen test, HRCT, and also real-time PCR method. Especially with this real-time PCR, when you observe the report of a patient, you will be given with a CT value. Here the CT stands for cycle threshold. Fixed CT value is 35 and below 35 is reported as positive and above 35 is reported as negative. So what is this 35 and what is this CT value? Let's discuss in detail. Generally, once we collect the sample, generally with the help of a swab, we collect the secretions from mouth or from a nose, right? If that secretions contain a coronavirus, see, this is the structure of a virus which will have a spike proteins on the surface and the genetic material is RNA. Some viruses will carry DNA as a genetic material and some viruses will carry RNA as a genetic material. But here in the method of PCR, we are going to amplify the gene. We are going to make a multiple copies of gene and that gene is DNA but not the RNA. So here the virus is carrying RNA as a genetic material and this RNA should be first converted to DNA before we proceed with the PCR, right? So as a part of this real-time PCR method, once we collect the sample, we are going to extract the RNA. This is the RNA, right? RNA is single-stranded. After the extraction of RNA, this is then converted to cDNA, that is complementary DNA. We all know the process of transcription. Synthesis of mRNA from DNA is called transcription. But here, in case of the retroviruses and some of the related viruses, they will have an enzyme called reverse transcriptase. So the genetic material RNA will be converted into cDNA by an enzyme called reverse transcriptase. So we need to convert this extracted RNA into a DNA with the help of an enzyme called reverse transcriptase. So what is the role of this enzyme reverse transcriptase here? It is going to synthesize the DNA from RNA, right? Once you get the DNA molecule, then you are going to amplify it with the help of the real-time PCR, where this PCR, which stands for polymerase chain reaction, carry 3 steps of denaturation, annealing and extension. So by carrying out all the 3 steps, we are going to achieve the synthesis of DNA at the end of each cycle. So with each cycle, we are going to increase the amount of DNA. So we might have a very less quantity of DNA initially. See, for example, this is the DNA, right? When it undergo the process of denaturation, annealing and extension, at the end of the cycle, it is going to give rise to 2 DNA molecules, right? When they undergo again the denaturation, annealing and extension, again it will give rise to 2 daughter DNA molecules. Here again the same. So if you observe the each cycle, at the end of the first cycle, the DNA is doubled. So 1 will be 2, 2 will be 4, 4 will be 8, 8 will be 16 and so on. So Here we are amplifying the gene. We are going to increase the copy number of the gene. At the end of some 30 to 40 cycles, we are going to get millions and billions copies of that particular gene. The concept of PCR is that, where we are going to amplify the gene, and here this PCR is based on the DNA only, not the RNA. We can't amplify RNA, right? So for that reason, this coronavirus, which carries RNA as a genetic material, is reverse transcribed to cDNA, and we are going to amplify this DNA followed by the quantification to determine whether that particular person affected with the coronavirus or not. See here, we are going to collect the sample followed by the extraction of RNA followed by the reverse transcription to cDNA, and then this will be used as a template to carry out qPCR, that is the quantitative PCR, also called as a real-time PCR. When we set up a reaction to carry out PCR, we are going to use DNA as a template. We have generated cDNA from RNA, right? Along with the DNA, we are going to include primers. We are going to add Taq polymerase, and we use dNTPs. And here in real-time PCR, we are going to use TaqMan probe or cyber green dye, right? So this is the DNA, okay? This is the double-stranded DNA. So when we subject it to denaturation, so it will become a single-stranded DNA, right? And in this reaction mixture, we are going to incorporate this cyber green dye, which will be utilized as a marker. So in this reaction, we also have this dye, right? And remember, this dye is an intercalating molecule that will go and bind within the DNA molecule, but not onto the single strand of a DNA. What happens in the next step? Primer will come and bind to initiate the process of DNA synthesis, right? So then this fluorescent dye will go and intercalates within the DNA molecule. And in the next step of extension, after binding with the primer, the DNA polymerase will come into the action. It will add the dNTPs one after the other, and it will synthesize the new strand of DNA. And once the double-stranded DNA is formed, this fluorescent dye will go and intercalates within the DNA molecule. See, after the action of DNA polymerase, at the end what you are going to get? You are going to get a double-stranded DNA molecule, right? So this fluorescent dye will go and intercalates within the DNA molecule. Initially it is also present in the reaction mixture, but it won't bind to the single-stranded DNA. It will only bind to the double-stranded DNA. Once the double-stranded DNA is formed with the help of DNA polymerase, which is involved in synthesizing the DNA using the other strand as a template, this dye will go and incorporate within the DNA molecule. And as the reaction proceeds with the amplification of the gene, I told you earlier that 1 will become 2, 2 will become 4, 4 will become 8. That means with each cycle will have a denaturation, annealing and extension. Denaturation, annealing and extension. So with each cycle, the amount of DNA will get doubled. As the amount of DNA is getting doubled, the light intensity or the fluorescence will also increase. That will be captured with the help of detectors that are present in this PCR machine, that will be displayed on a digital screen. So when you observe the digital screen, that is with the number of cycles and with the fluorescence, you will get a curve like this. So that is with the increase in the number of the cycles, there will be an increase in the fluorescence. And from there, you are going to check out the CT value. CT stands for the cycle threshold value. For example, if the CT value is 20, that means it took 20 cycles to detect the sufficient amount of the gene or a PCR product of that particular patient. And see here the 20 value is less than 35, right? and he will be given with a report of positive. You can use another probe called Tachman probe. These probes are designed in such a way that it will have a reporter site at the 5' end and a quencher site at the 3' end. So this is going to fluoresce, and moreover it will have a quencher region at the 3' end. So this quencher will inhibit the activity of the reporter. This is a fluorescent molecule. Okay, this reporter and quencher will be in close proximity with each other, right? So when we use this Tachman probe, when we set up a reaction, usually this quencher will inhibit the action of this reporter. So it will not fluoresce until it is in close proximity with the quencher. But as the reaction proceeds, that is, in PCR we set up a reaction with the 3 steps of denaturation, annealing, and moreover extension. So what happens in the denaturation? So this is the double-stranded DNA. How we got this DNA? Once we collect the sample from the patient, we extract the RNA, and that RNA is converted into DNA with the help of a reverse transcriptase enzyme. Now this DNA is to be amplified, right? So if a person is having a less viral load, we cannot detect that less amount of the viral load. So for that reason, once we isolate the RNA, we are going to convert it to DNA, and that DNA is to be amplified in order to quantify it. So here with the help of PCR, we are going to amplify it. So this DNA quantity is increased with the each cycle of PCR. Now in the step of denaturation, when you apply a temperature of 95 degrees centigrade, this double-stranded DNA will be converted into a single-stranded DNA, followed by the second step of annealing. What happens in this annealing? We again reduce the temperature to 65 degrees centigrade, where we allow the primers to go and anneal with this DNA sequence. We use a set of primers like forward primer and the reverse primer. So what happens in the second step? This is one strand of DNA and this is the other strand of the DNA, right? So the forward primer will go and bind over here, and the reverse primer will go and bind over here. This we are calling it as annealing. At the step of annealing itself, Tachman probe will go and bind with the DNA sequence, which is having a fluorescent molecule at the 5' end, where we are calling it as reporter, and a quencher at the 3' end. Next comes is the extension, where the DNA polymerase will come into the action, and it is going to synthesize the DNA, right? So what is the role of DNA polymerase here? When we set up a reaction, we are going to add DNTPs also, right? That is DATP, DGTP, DCTP and DTTP. So these are the 4 DNTPs which we also provide when we set up a reaction. So what is this DNA polymerase going to do here? It is going to synthesize the DNA utilizing this single stranded DNA as a template. And based on the information that is present on the DNA over here, it is going to add the nucleotides one after the other, and it is going to synthesize a new DNA molecule. So during the process of this DNA synthesis, this DNA polymerase will have an exonuclease activity. So what it is going to do? It is going to cleave this probe as a part of adding the nucleotides. So after the binding of primer, the process of DNA synthesis will be initiated. The DNA polymerase will come into the action and it will carry out the synthesis of the DNA. So as a part of synthesis, when it reaches nearby this Tachman probe, it is going to break it, right? Once it is set apart, that is, if the quencher is separated from this reporter, this quencher will no longer inhibit the activity of the reporter. So once it is separated, as this DNA synthesis takes place, it is going to emit the light. So this is one cycle, right? Again in the second cycle, this 2 DNA molecules will again give rise to 4 DNA molecules. Again there will be increase in the intensity of the light with the help of these Tachman probes. As the reaction proceeds, as the amplification takes place with the increase in the gene copy number, the fluorescence will also increase. That will be detected and that information will be utilized to quantify the PCR product. Now let's look into the protocol how we detect the coronavirus using this real-time PCR method. So the first step is we need to collect a sample. There will be a sterile swab, and with the help of that sterile swab we are going to collect the secretions from the nose. So that we are calling it as a nasopharyngeal swab. So once we are ready with this swab, that swab is to be dipped into a tube containing viral transport medium. Sometimes the collection centers will be far away from the lab. So in that cases we need to transfer this clinical specimens to the lab. Sometimes it may get delayed also. In that cases we need to maintain a virus in a viable condition. So we generally suspend those swabs in a viral transport medium for the purpose of transportation. So then this viral transport medium which contains a virus, it may or may not contain a virus, that we are going to detect it now with the help of this real-time PCR method. As I told you just now that this coronavirus have RNA as a genetic material, but using PCR we can't amplify RNA, but we can amplify DNA. So we are going to first extract the RNA, and by the process of reverse transcription we are going to synthesize complementary DNA from RNA. So using a kit method we are going to extract the RNA from the virus. After this step of extraction we are going to prepare a reaction mixture. So we call it as a master mix that contains reverse transcriptase enzyme. Why do we need reverse transcriptase enzyme? Because without this enzyme we can't synthesize the DNA from the RNA. So this enzyme helps us to convert this RNA to DNA. And then we need DNTPs, because only with the help of DNTPs only we can carry out the synthesis of DNA under in vitro conditions, that is within the test tube, where we are going to utilize the enzyme DNA polymerase that is going to add this DNTPs one after the other as a process of synthesizing the DNA. Next we need a set of primers, that is the forward primer and the reverse primer, and we need a Tachman probe here. In conventional PCR we don't need any Tachman probe or cyber green dye, but here we are going to monitor the progress of the reaction, so we need either a cyber green dye or a Tachman probe. And this Tachman probe, as I told you just now, the activity of this probe, once it is broken down by the DNA polymerase during the synthesis of the DNA, it is going to emit the light. And with the increase in the amplification, that is with the increase in the gene copy number, this fluorescence will also increase. With the increase in the intensity of the light, we are going to detect whether the reaction is taking place or not, whether the amplification is done or not, and based on that we can quantify the PCR product at the end of the 35 cycles. We are done with the preparation of the master mix which contains all these reagents. Then we are going to add this extracted RNA to this master mix, where here the RNA will act as a template. So if we provide RNA as a template, then only this RTAs will convert that RNA to DNA, right? So for that reason we are going to incorporate this isolated RNA from the virus into this reaction tube. We need to vertex it to ensure proper mixing. Once you are done with the reaction mixture, what you are supposed to do? You have to insert this tube into a PCR mission, that is qPCR or real-time PCR mission. Then what happens in the first step? The very first step is the reverse transcription, because here we are going to amplify the DNA, not the RNA. So as we have provided the enzyme reverse transcriptase, first it will act in the first step. So this is the RNA which will be utilized here as a template, and the enzyme reverse transcriptase will synthesize the cDNA. This is the RNA DNA hybrid, and we don't need RNA anymore. Its role is over. We have already synthesized the DNA from the RNA with the help of the enzyme reverse transcriptases, right? And now we don't need RNA anymore. We need to synthesize the another copy of the DNA. Okay. Now after the synthesis of the cDNA, denaturation of the RNA DNA hybrid takes place. That means we are going to separate this DNA strand from the RNA strand. That we call it as denaturation. So in this denaturation, we are going to break these hydrogen bonds so that the RNA gets separated from the DNA. Now we go with the step of annealing and extension. So now you are clear till here, right? We have denatured the RNA DNA hybrid. Now we have a single stranded DNA here, that is cDNA, which we got from the RNA. Now what happens? We used set of primers, right? Primer which is complementary to this DNA will go and base pairs with it, forming a duplex here, right? That we call it as annealing. And also in the step of annealing, Tachman probe will also go and base pairs with the DNA. Now in the step of extension, what happens? The DNA polymerase will come and bind here, and it is going to add dNTPs, and it is going to synthesize the DNA. As it possesses the exonuclease activity, it is going to break the Tachman probe. So the quencher and the reporter is separated from each other. That is going to give fluorescence. It is going to emit the light, and that will be captured by the detectors or a camera that is present in the PCR machine. So this is up to a cycle number 1. What happens in the second cycle? Now we got a double stranded DNA, right? So now again in the second cycle, it follows the same denaturation, annealing and extension. So now this double stranded DNA will undergo the process of denaturation, giving rise to the two single stranded DNA molecules. Again in the step of annealing, primers will go and bind, both the forward primer and the reverse primer. And in the same step of annealing, Tachman probe will also go and bind. And in the third step, the extension will take place. So it will gives rise to again two DNA molecules. They will again undergo the third cycle of denaturation, annealing and extension, giving rise to 4 DNA molecule. So as the cycle proceeds, we get more copies of DNA. As we get more copies of DNA, the light intensity will also increase. As I told you just now, once the gene got amplified, there will be increase in the intensity of the light as well, right? So that light intensity will be captured. See here in this real-time PCR mission, you'll have a tungsten lamp, halogen source, excitation filter, mirrors, lens, emission filter and a CCD camera. CCD stands for charge coupled device. So for each PCR cycle, the light from the excited fluorophore, I told you just now, right? This is the Tachman probe, which will have a fluorophore at the 5' end and it will have a quencher at the 3' end. Once it is lysed, that is once it is broken down by the DNA polymerase as a part of synthesizing the DNA, so this will inhibit the activity of fluorophore, right? But when it is not in contact with each other, it can no longer inhibit the activity of fluorophore. Now it will emit the light. So that light will be captured, right? So that emitted light will be detected by the CCD camera, and that will convert the light it captured into a digital data that will be displayed on the screen. If you look over here, so this is how you will see a curve. and you need to check the CT value. For example, here this is about 20 cycles. The number of cycles were around 20 for suppose. That means it took 20 cycles to detect that particular amplified gene. So the CT value will be reported as 20. That means the person is positive. As I told you, 35 is the fixed value, above 35 is negative and below 35 is positive. So if the person is given with a report of CT value 20, it means he is infected with coronavirus. This is how we interpret the results with the help of real-time PCR. And for suppose if we get another curve with a CT value of 30, still that person is positive, but it took 30 cycles to detect the same gene product. And remember, this real-time PCR method is more accurate and a sensitive method where we can detect even this small quantity of viral load with the help of this method. Moreover, here we use a set of primers which are very specific with the template. So they will go and specifically bind with the template and they will initiate the synthesis of DNA. There is a chance of false negatives, but there is no chance of false positives. As I told you just now that this method is very accurate. We design primers in such a way that they will only go and bind with the template if they both are complementary to each other. Then only the DNA synthesis will take place and the amplification of the gene take place. So the false positives are not possible. But there is a chance of false negatives. Why? Because sometimes due to experimental errors, or the other reason could be the use of low quality kits, that includes a poor quality reagents, and moreover sometimes if the organism undergo the mutation. That means, for example, if the sequence of a virus is ATGC-TAGC, so based on this sequence information we design a primer, that is TAC, which is complementary to each other, so that the primer will go and bind and then it will initiate the synthesis of DNA. But sometimes when the virus or the bacteria undergo the mutation, say here we are talking about COVID, so we take example of a coronavirus. If that virus undergo a mutation, if there is a change in the sequence over here from thymine to adenine, right? So this primer is having a sequence of TAC, but here it is not complementary to each other because always adenine pairs with thymine. So here if there is thymine in the primer, then it will go and bind, but instead of thymine it carries adenine in second place. So it is not complementary to each other. So this primer will not go and bind with the template DNA. So the process will not take place. That means there will be no amplification of gene. If there is no amplification, there is no PCR product, right? So if the gene is amplified, for example, initially if we take 1 nanogram of cDNA, if it is amplified, it may convert into some 1000 to 10,000 nanograms of cDNA at the end of PCR, because here we are going to amplify the gene, we are going to increase the quantity of the gene, but when the gene is not amplified, there will be no increase in the quantity, right? So no PCR product will be identified at the end of the cycle. I'll give you one more example for better understanding. For suppose there is a person X and a person Y, right? So X is a female and Y is a male, both are wife and husband, right? So this male person, husband, who went to office got infected from his colleague, for suppose, and after 3 days of infection he started expressing the symptoms of coughing and sneezing, but here wife doesn't show any symptoms. That means here the wife is asymptomatic and the husband is symptomatic, and that too this person started showing symptoms only after the 3 days of infection. Now they both went to check for the presence of virus. They have gone for the real-time PCR method. Now after the performance of the real-time PCR, if you observe the graph, So this is for Y and this is for X. This is for the husband, that is male, and this is for the female, that is wife of that person. Okay, the CT value of a male is 20 and the CT value of female is 30. Okay, now we need to give a report whether they are positive or negative. As I already told you, 35 is the fixed value. Above 35 is reported as negative and below 35 is reported as positive. Now both are positive. Both of them were carrying a coronavirus. But here the CT value of male is 20 and the CT value of female is 30. That means it took 20 cycles to detect the gene product. Female, it took 30 cycles to detect this same gene product. And here we can say that this person is having more viral load compared to this female. Remember, lower CT values indicates high DNA concentration and the higher CT values indicates the lower DNA concentration. That means this person with a lower CT value is having a high viral load compared to this female with a high CT value with a low DNA concentration. This is how we make out with the help of this CT value. But remember that based on this CT value, we can't say that whether the person is in a safe zone or in a danger zone. Why? Because it depends on their immune response. If this person, even with the less CT value and having a more viral load, if his immune response is good without any health complications, he will recover soon from the infection. But if a lady with a CT value of 30 and with the less viral load may affect more with the virus, because if her immune response is less. Maybe she is having some other health issues, or maybe her immune response is not good enough to fight the germ. And she might be in a danger zone and it will take more time for her to recover from the infection. So we can't exactly say based on this CT value, that is the cycle threshold value. It varies from person to the person, that how they respond to the infection based on their immune levels. Please stay safe and healthy. Thank you.